Hello Golden State Warriors fans. We are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
Steve Kerr has shared new insights into De'Anthony Melton's progress in practice, and when the guard might finally make his season debut. The Golden State Warriors have been riding an uneven start, sitting at 10-10 and still searching for consistency. The situation grew more complicated after their 104-100 loss to the Houston Rockets, a game that also saw Stephen Curry go down with a thigh contusion. Curry is expected to miss about a week, and while the Warriors are relieved that the injury isn't more serious, losing their franchise star, even briefly, comes at a difficult moment. With Curry sidelined, Golden State will need to find ways to stay afloat. One bit of encouraging news: De'Anthony Melton may be returning soon. Veterans Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green didn't hold back after the loss, openly criticizing the team's defensive effort. The Warriors now sit 8th in a stacked Western Conference, just 2.5 games away from climbing into the top 6, but just as close to falling further behind. Without Curry, Golden State will need multiple players to step up and stabilize the team. They're also counting on Melton's return, as he nears the end of his recovery from a torn ACL. According to Kerr, Melton has shown strong progress and could see the floor during the team's upcoming road trip. Kerr said Melton went through the full practice and continues to respond well to the recovery plan. He'll miss the remainder of the current homestand, but there's a real chance he could suit up once we hit the road. What De'Anthony Melton's return means for the Warriors. Once Melton is back in the rotation, Golden State plans to use him primarily as a defender on opposing guards, even though offensively, he operates more like a combo wing. Last season, Kerr experimented heavily with ultra-small lineups featuring Melton, pairing him with Curry, Gary Payton II, Brandon Podziemski, and Buddy Hield. Melton won't be inserted into the starting lineup right away, but he'll have the opportunity to earn a larger role as he regains rhythm and conditioning. In smaller looks, the Warriors could roll out a group of Curry, Melton, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. In bigger lineups, Melton would likely come off the bench as someone like Quinton Post fills the starting spot. Melton's return won't solve everything, but his defensive instincts, toughness, and ability to stretch the floor may be exactly what Golden State needs as they navigate this stretch without their superstar. Melton's potential return also comes at a moment when the Warriors are being forced to confront deeper issues that go far beyond injuries. Internally, the coaching staff has expressed concern about the team's inconsistent defensive habits and the lack of cohesion in late-game situations, an area where Golden State once thrived. According to team sources, Kerr and his assistants have emphasized sharper rotations and cleaner communication on the defensive end, especially with Curry unavailable to bail them out offensively. The hope is that Melton's presence can help stabilize the perimeter defense, an area that has quietly become one of the team's biggest weaknesses this season. Golden State's struggles have also sparked criticism from former players and analysts around the league. Several commentators noted that the Warriors' identity, once built on pace, spacing, and relentless ball movement, has become harder to recognize. Others have suggested that Kerr's reliance on smaller lineups has left the team vulnerable against more physical opponents. In the locker room, players have acknowledged the urgency of the moment. Draymond Green admitted that the team cannot rely on Curry to fix games every night, stressing the need for a collective response. Jimmy Butler, who has been vocal since the loss in Houston, said the Warriors' defensive lapses are correctable, but only if the group commits to doing the small things with more discipline. The Warriors face a critical stretch in the schedule, with several road games against playoff-level opponents. Without Curry, they will need to lean more heavily on Andrew Wiggins, Brandon Podziemski, and Moses Moody for shot creation, while also counting on Butler's two-way impact to set the tone. For Melton, the coming weeks could represent an unexpected opportunity. Before his injury, he was viewed as a low-risk signing who could provide depth. Now, he might become a key piece in stabilizing a team that has drifted from its identity. His ability to pressure the ball, fight through screens, and hit timely perimeter shots could help relieve some of the burden on the Warriors' veterans. If Melton returns and performs well, Golden State may finally regain some of the defensive sharpness that carried them through their championship years. If not, the Warriors could find themselves slipping even further down the standings, increasing pressure on the coaching staff and front office to make adjustments. As Kerr put it during his most recent media availability, We're not far from where we need to be, but the margin for error is smaller now. We need everyone available, locked in, and ready to contribute. For the Warriors, Melton's return isn't just about getting another body back. It's about regaining stability, rediscovering identity, and proving they can compete while waiting for their superstar to heal. Stephen Curry's injury might end up being a blessing in disguise for one Warriors player, and surprisingly, it's not Brandon Podziemski. The Golden State Warriors will now be without Curry for an extended stretch. According to Shams Charania, Curry is expected to miss roughly a week or more after suffering a thigh contusion during Golden State's 104-100 loss to the Houston Rockets. For the Warriors, the timing couldn't be worse. The team has struggled badly whenever Curry leaves the floor this season, and his absence exposes just how dependent they remain on their superstar. Complicating matters further, Jimmy Butler still hasn't settled into a rhythm that allows him to consistently anchor the offense when Curry sits. With the Warriors facing a difficult slate, including the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder, they will be forced to find new sources of playmaking. And that's where an unexpected opportunity emerges. Curry's injury may turn out to be a breakthrough moment for reserve guard Pat Spencer. With Curry unavailable, someone must step in to handle the ball, create offense, and keep the team organized. While Brandon Podziemski is still firmly in the rotation, Steve Kerr has been increasingly vocal in praising Spencer, signaling growing trust in the 29-year-old guard. Even after the loss to Houston, Kerr highlighted the spark Spencer brought to the offense. Pat needs to start the fourth quarter. He's given us good minutes off the bench early this season, and he helped us find an offensive rhythm, Kerr said. Spencer's playing time has jumped from 6.4 to 12.6 minutes per game this year, and his scoring has doubled from 2.5 to 4.8 points per game. His three-point shooting has also taken a sizable step forward, rising from 22.7% to 33.3%. Kerr's increased confidence in him has been impossible to ignore. Kerr has also praised Spencer for taking care of the ball, a quality he values deeply. Spencer is averaging just 0.7 turnovers per game, a strong indicator of his poise and control as a primary ball handler. The numbers back up the trust Kerr has placed in him. With increased minutes, Spencer has produced 4.8 points and 2.6 assists per game, showing steady improvement and a growing comfort in the system. Now, with Curry expected to miss multiple games, Spencer is poised to see his role expand even further. Kerr clearly believes that greater opportunity can translate into meaningful production from Spencer during this crucial stretch without Golden State's offensive centerpiece. For a Warriors team searching for answers, Spencer's emergence may come at exactly the right time. Spencer's emergence also highlights a broader shift within the Warriors' rotation, one that has been slowly developing but is now impossible to ignore. With the roster dealing with injuries, inconsistency, and an evolving identity, Kerr has shown a willingness to reward steadiness and reliability over pedigree or draft status. Spencer, an undrafted guard who entered the league with little fanfare, has become a clear beneficiary of that philosophy. Internally, several members of the coaching staff have noted that Spencer's pace, decision-making, and willingness to stick to the system have made him one of the most dependable second-unit players in recent weeks. His approach contrasts with some of the more volatile performances the Warriors have seen from younger players, who tend to fluctuate between highlight moments and costly mistakes. The ripple effects of Spencer's increased role are already being felt. With him taking on more of the ball-handling responsibilities, Golden State has been able to shift Podziemski into more off-ball actions, where his movement and shooting are more effective. Moses Moody has also benefited, as Spencer's controlled tempo has allowed the second unit to get cleaner looks and avoid rushed possessions. Around the league, analysts have begun to take notice as well. Several commentators have pointed out that Spencer's confidence looks noticeably higher, and that he appears far more comfortable initiating the offense than he did a season ago. Some have even argued that his steadiness may force Kerr to rethink the guard hierarchy once the team becomes fully healthy. But the true test will come in the next stretch of games. With Curry out and the Warriors facing a tougher schedule, Spencer will be tasked with managing long offensive droughts, maintaining control in fourth-quarter minutes, and helping prevent the Warriors from falling further in the Western Conference standings. Kerr has hinted that Spencer will not simply inherit Curry's minutes, but he will be expected to provide structure, create advantages, and stabilize lineups that have struggled to generate consistent offense. In a season marked by volatility, Spencer's reliability could quickly become one of Golden State's most valuable assets. If he continues to deliver, the guard could carve out a long-term role that goes well beyond this brief window. And for a Warriors team fighting to stay competitive while waiting for their superstar to recover, that development may prove to be one of the most important silver linings of the season. Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green didn't hold back after the Golden State Warriors' latest collapse. Their frustration reached a boiling point following another disappointing loss, this time to the Houston Rockets in an NBA Cup matchup. Golden State squandered a 14-point lead against a Rockets team missing Kevin Durant, exposing once again their lack of composure against top-tier opponents. To make matters worse, Stephen Curry suffered a thigh injury in the fourth quarter and had to leave the game in the final seconds for further evaluation. But the most striking fallout came after the final buzzer, when Butler and Green, two of the team's emotional anchors, openly criticized their teammates' effort and mentality. Jimmy Butler called out the Warriors' lack of execution and insisted Steve Kerr wasn't to blame. Speaking after the loss, Butler addressed the team's struggles head-on, especially with Curry sidelined. Without their superstar, the Warriors need to play with more urgency, but Butler made it clear that the team simply isn't doing enough to win games. What more has to change? I think we have to be almost perfect. We don't have that ultimate savior on our team, Butler said. And even when he's out there, we still have to do our jobs, because we make the game way harder than it needs to be. He continued, highlighting how much burden Curry carries night after night. As great as he is, he has an incredibly tough job. Every day, he has to be the Batman of all Batmans. That's not what he's here for. Butler went further, pointing to fundamental breakdowns the team keeps repeating. We don't box out. We don't follow the scouting report. We let anybody do whatever they want. Open shots, drives to the rim, free throws. It's just sad. He emphasized that the responsibility lies with the players, not the coaching staff. I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. We just have to do what we're supposed to do as players. I don't care what Steve says, it's not on him or the coaching staff. They give us everything we need. They put us in the right spots. Don't listen to Steve when he says, it's my fault. It's on the guys in that locker room. Draymond Green went even further, calling the entire team terrible. When Green stepped to the microphone, his message was even harsher. Our defense is awful, he said. It's not even about the numbers. How do you feel when you're out there? If it's disappointment after disappointment, it's deeper than the stats. Green criticized the team's lack of physicality and presence. Defense is about posture. If someone breaks your posture, they break your swagger. And then you're just a weak team. What does the other team feel when you're guarding them? Right now, they feel nothing. No pressure. Even if we get stops here and there, where's the force? He challenged every player individually. We don't have that. We all have to take on our challenge. If you take your individual challenge, then we can function as a team. At this moment individually, and I know people love to twist words, we're terrible. Green's comments echoed the frustrations he expressed weeks earlier regarding the team's lack of personal motivation. Butler has also mentioned that Green has been furious about the Warriors' defensive effort since the start of the season. This feels like a breaking point for Golden State. With a disappointing start, mounting injuries, and growing tension inside the locker room, the Warriors may be running out of time. Unless drastic changes are made soon, there may not be much season left to save. The fallout from Butler and Green's comments was immediate. Inside the Warriors organization, there was a clear understanding that such strong language wasn't accidental. It reflected a deeper growing frustration that had been simmering for weeks as the team continued to stumble through a season filled with inconsistency, injuries, and a glaring lack of urgency. According to team sources, some players were taken aback by how bluntly Butler and Green addressed the issues publicly. While both veterans have long been known for their honesty and willingness to confront problems head-on, this time the tone felt different, more desperate, more urgent, and more reflective of a team that senses its window closing. Internally, the coaching staff is now facing a significant challenge, maintaining trust and cohesion in a locker room that has begun pointing fingers. Kerr has always emphasized accountability and clarity, yet the very leaders who usually support his message are now calling out their teammates with unprecedented intensity. Around the league, analysts and former players have weighed in as well. Many believe Butler and Green's comments highlight a fundamental problem with Golden State's current construction. The blend of aging veterans and developing young players has yet to mesh the way the organization envisioned, leaving the team stuck between competing timelines. Some insiders have suggested that the Warriors front office may need to explore roster adjustments sooner than expected. While no major move appears imminent, pressure is mounting, especially with the team slipping in the Western Conference standings. Executives reportedly understand that standing still could jeopardize not only this season, but the entire competitive structure the franchise has spent years trying to preserve. Meanwhile, Curry's injury looms over everything. Without him, Golden State has historically struggled, and the Warriors now find themselves without their offensive engine and emotional stabilizer. If he misses significant time, the burden on Butler and Green, already heavy, will grow even heavier. For a team that has relied on Curry's brilliance to erase mistakes and mask underlying problems, his absence exposes every flaw. Players close to the situation admit privately that the Warriors' margin for error is now almost non-existent. Some believe the only way forward is for the entire roster to embrace the uncomfortable truths Butler and Green spelled out. Others worry that such public criticism could fracture the team further, especially among younger players who are still learning how to handle adversity at the NBA level. Still, the message from Golden State's two vocal leaders was unmistakable: the team must change its habits or accept its fate. As the Warriors prepare for a challenging stretch of games, their season stands at a crossroads. The next few weeks will determine whether Butler and Green's fiery words ignite a turnaround, or whether this marks the beginning of a deeper unraveling for a franchise that once defined the modern NBA. If the Warriors cannot respond with urgency, discipline, and unity, the repercussions could reach far beyond this season, raising questions about strategy, roster construction, and the future of one of the league's most storied cores. NBA fans are pointing fingers at Steve Kerr after Stephen Curry suffered a thigh contusion late in the Warriors' loss, some even comparing Kerr's decisions to Tom Thibodeau-level minutes. Many believe Curry wasn't adequately protected by the Golden State Warriors head coach, and that the oversight directly contributed to the injury. Golden State fell to the Houston Rockets in a crucial NBA Cup matchup, but the defeat might not even be their biggest problem. Curry limped off the floor in the final minute of the fourth quarter after taking several hard hits from Houston defenders. His injury could send the Warriors into a dangerous downward spiral, especially with the team already sitting at a disappointing 10-10. But in the eyes of many Warriors supporters, the blame doesn't fall on Houston, it falls on their own coach. NBA fans blast Steve Kerr for failing to protect Curry. As soon as Curry hobbled off the court, fans took to social media to criticize Kerr for leaving him exposed in a game that was slipping away. One fan on X wrote, "Chef getting the Tom Thibodeau treatment from Kerr, running him into the ground with those tiny lineups." Another added, "Warriors media needs to tell Kerr he cannot keep playing four guards at once. When is he going to learn?" A third fan tried to predict the severity of the injury on the spot: thigh contusion. Probably out 1 to 2 weeks. A fourth demanded accountability: "Please ask Kerr about these rotations." Not all fans blamed the coach, though. One pushed back, writing, "The referees need to be investigated." Another shifted the blame toward Houston. "The Rockets try to hurt this guy every time they play the Warriors." Steve Kerr confirmed Stephen Curry suffered a right thigh contusion. Speaking after the loss, Kerr told reporters that Curry sustained a right quad contusion and was undergoing an MRI. "When I heard it was a quad contusion, I was relieved," Kerr admitted. "Better than an ankle or knee injury." Early expectations suggest Curry may miss 1 to 2 weeks, leaving the Warriors with a challenging stretch ahead as they attempt to stay afloat without their superstar. But if Curry's recovery takes longer than anticipated, Golden State may have no choice but to consider significant changes to their roster in hopes of salvaging what's left of an already fragile season. Beyond the immediate injury update, Curry's situation has intensified a growing conversation around the Warriors' internal issues, problems that have been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. With Klay Thompson struggling to find consistency, Draymond Green serving multiple suspensions, and the bench offering little stability, the Warriors have leaned harder than ever on Curry to keep them competitive. That dependency is now being exposed in real time. As analysts pointed out after the game, Kerr's rotation choices have become a recurring concern. Several NBA insiders highlighted that Golden State has been routinely closing games with undersized lineups, putting added physical pressure on Curry to create offense, navigate defensive mismatches, and absorb contact in the paint. His high usage rate, one of the highest of his career at age 36, is raising red flags both inside and outside the organization. Former players also weighed in. One Western Conference scout told local reporters that the Warriors system is showing its age, arguing that Kerr's reliance on small ball principles may no longer fit the roster's current strengths. Another analyst noted that Golden State's opponents, particularly younger and more physical teams like Houston, have begun aggressively targeting Curry on both ends of the floor, knowing the Warriors have few alternatives capable of relieving the pressure. Meanwhile, Curry's absence could have immediate standings implications. Golden State's margin for error is shrinking rapidly in a crowded Western Conference, where even a short losing streak can derail playoff hopes. Several outlets pointed out that the Warriors' upcoming schedule includes matchups against the Lakers, Thunder, and Nuggets, all teams capable of exploiting Golden State's weaknesses without Curry orchestrating the offense. Inside the locker room, players expressed both concern and determination. Veteran leaders acknowledged that the team has been slow to adjust to adversity, and one source described the mood as quiet but frustrated, especially with the team hovering around .500 after a decade of championship-level expectations. If Curry misses extended time, pressure will mount on Kerr not only to adjust his rotations but to prove that the Warriors system can survive without its foundational star. League insiders believe that any significant slump during Curry's recovery could force the front office to reassess the roster before the trade deadline, a scenario that once seemed unthinkable during the dynasty years. For now, all eyes remain on Curry's MRI results and the Warriors' response in the coming games. The franchise has endured setbacks before, but this latest blow has many wondering whether Golden State's window is finally starting to close, and whether Kerr's decisions, once unquestioned, are now contributing to the team's growing instability. Jimmy Butler has been giving the Warriors more than ever this season, but the results simply aren't matching his effort. Last year, Butler's arrival felt like a turning point for Golden State. The proof was in the numbers, a phenomenal 23-7 record in the 30 games Butler played during the 2024-25 season. With that in mind, many expected the Warriors to look just as sharp heading into 2025-26. Some even called for Butler, the former Miami Heat star, to take on an even bigger load. And to his credit, Butler has answered that call. So far in the 2025-26 campaign, he's doing more with less for Golden State. Heading into the season, fans worried about what Butler's role would look like without Stephen Curry on the floor. But head coach Steve Kerr put his trust in the 36-year-old veteran, and individually, Butler has proven Kerr right. Through the first 18 games, Butler is playing fewer minutes but delivering more production. He's scoring more, pulling down slightly more rebounds, and maintaining a strong overall presence. The only dip is in his assists per game. Still, Butler's expanded role isn't translating to the results the Warriors desperately need. Despite his adjustments, Golden State's overall performance has been far from encouraging. The frustration boiled over after a brutal 104-100 loss to the shorthanded Houston Rockets, a game in which Curry also suffered a thigh injury. With Curry expected to miss time, Butler's numbers will likely rise even further. But at this point, individual stats mean nothing if the Warriors can't string together wins. Right now, Golden State sits 8th in the Western Conference with a disappointing 10-10 record. Butler has been vocal on and off the court, trying to spark something in this team, but the real question is whether that spark will be enough to pull the Warriors back on track. But the concern around Golden State isn't just about the standings. It's the way the team is losing. Long stretches of stagnant offense, defensive breakdowns in crucial moments, and a lack of identity have fueled the growing frustration among fans and analysts. For a franchise that built its reputation on cohesion, movement, and joy, the Warriors look strangely disconnected. Inside the locker room, Butler has reportedly taken on a louder leadership role than last season. Teammates have described him as demanding but fair, constantly pushing for accountability. Still, even Butler's intensity hasn't been enough to mask the issues that keep resurfacing. Several players have hinted that the team hasn't fully adjusted to the new offensive structure that places more responsibility on Butler when Curry is off the floor. The front office is also beginning to feel the pressure. Rumblings around the league suggest that competitors are monitoring the situation closely, questioning whether Golden State might explore roster changes if the slide continues. While no major move seems imminent, the uncertainty is creating a sense that this could be a pivotal stretch for the franchise. Steve Kerr, meanwhile, has remained publicly composed, emphasizing patience and continuity. But his rotations have grown increasingly experimental as he searches for combinations that can generate consistent energy on both ends of the court. Younger players like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody have shown flashes, yet the inconsistency across the roster makes it hard for Kerr to settle on a long-term solution. As for Butler, The spotlight has never been brighter. He knew when he arrived that replacing the declining stability around Curry would be a heavy task, but few expected the weight to fall this quickly or this sharply. With Curry sidelined and the Warriors drifting toward mediocrity, Butler's voice, production, and leadership will determine whether Golden State can regroup or spiral further. And the league is watching closely. Opposing teams respect Butler's competitiveness, but many doubt whether his style can elevate an aging roster plagued by injuries, depth issues, and fading chemistry. Every game from here on feels like a test, not just of Butler's impact, but of the Warriors' long-term direction. For a team that once dominated the NBA with swagger and precision, the question now is whether they can find that rhythm again before the season slips away. Not only Stephen Curry, but Draymond Green may also be dealing with an injury after the Warriors' humbling loss to the Houston Rockets. After a promising 4-1 start, Golden State has undeniably struggled to find its rhythm. A brutal schedule has taken a clear toll on this Warriors team, and it's not hard to see why. The Dubs have the oldest starting lineup in the NBA, and the wear and tear is beginning to show. Their biggest fear became reality when Stephen Curry went down with a thigh injury during the loss to Houston. But that might only be the beginning of Golden State's problems. There are now growing concerns that veteran forward Draymond Green could also be playing through pain. NBA insider Anthony Slater believes Green is hurt, even if he hasn't publicly admitted it. Steve Kerr already faced heavy criticism for Curry's injury against the Rockets, and things may get even more complicated for the coach if Slater's assessment is accurate. During a recent episode of the Hoops Collective, Slater suggested that Green is quietly battling an injury. I talked to him in the locker room last night. He didn't play yesterday. He wants to play on Wednesday. I compared the situation to that time Marcus Smart fell on Steph's foot, Slater explained. That happened during the championship season. Steph missed a month. I tried comparing that to Draymond. Slater believes Green's situation resembles the infamous moment when Marcus Smart, then with the Boston Celtics, landed on Curry's foot in 2022, sidelining him for weeks. While the Warriors ultimately won the title that season, it could have derailed everything. Green, however, has pushed back on the idea that his current issue is anything like Curry's 2022 injury. So far, Draymond has appeared in 17 of the Warriors' 20 games, including the recent matchup against Houston. He's been vocal about the team's poor performance, yet noticeably quiet about his own physical condition. The reason may lie in what he told Slater before the game. Draymond was saying that Steph had actually torn something. Draymond didn't do that. But it was painful, Slater noted. He was putting on his shoe in the locker room while I was talking to him, and you could see him wincing. With the Warriors sitting at 10-10 and Curry already sidelined, losing Green would be a devastating blow. At a time when Golden State desperately needs stability and leadership, another injury to a core veteran could push their season to the brink. The growing uncertainty around Green's health has only amplified the anxiety surrounding the Warriors' season. Even if he insists the injury isn't severe, the visual evidence tells another story. Observers have noticed subtle changes in his movement, slower rotations, less elevation on rebounds, and a clear hesitancy when absorbing contact in the paint. For a player whose game relies heavily on physicality and defensive instincts, even a minor setback can compromise the entire structure of Golden State's system. Within the organization, there is a quiet understanding that the margin for error is slimmer than ever. With Curry unavailable and Green possibly limited, the Warriors are forced to lean on a roster that has struggled to find consistency. Players like Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski have shown flashes, but none have yet emerged as the stabilizing force the team desperately needs during this turbulent stretch. The coaching staff is facing difficult decisions as well. Kerr's rotations are becoming a focal point of criticism, particularly as he attempts to balance the need for defensive stability with the urgency for offensive production. If Green's injury worsens, Kerr may have no choice but to expand the roles of younger players who are still learning how to close games at an NBA level. Around the league, rival executives are watching closely. Some believe that the Warriors could soon reach a breaking point, where the front office may be forced to consider moves they previously avoided, whether that means altering the roster, reshaping the rotation, or shifting their long-term strategy. The dynasty that once seemed invincible is now being tested in ways few expected. Draymond's teammates, meanwhile, are aware of what his absence would mean. Green has long been the emotional and defensive anchor of the team. Losing him, even temporarily, would leave a gaping hole in both leadership and identity. Several players privately admitted that Green remains the one who sets the tone in practices, holds teammates accountable, and ensures that energy doesn't dip when adversity hits. Yet despite all the concerns, Green continues to suit up and push through. For now, he remains committed to keeping the Warriors afloat until Curry returns. But the question hanging over the franchise is whether pushing through the pain will help Golden State regain its footing, or lead to a far more damaging setback down the road. With a difficult stretch of games approaching, every moment counts. The Warriors are standing at a crossroads, their season teetering between a potential turnaround and a slide that could reshape the future of the franchise. Reggie Miller has made his choice for the one current NBA player who could one day threaten Stephen Curry's all-time three-point record, and surprisingly, it's a rookie. The Hall of Famer believes a young first-year standout might be the first player capable of making Curry nervous about his historic mark. NBA records aren't meant to last forever, but some feel untouchable. LeBron James' all-time scoring record, which continues to climb, is one of them. Wilt Chamberlain's iconic 100-point game is another. And for years, Ray Allen's career three-point record seemed like a number no one would ever exceed, until Stephen Curry shattered it, redefining the meaning of long-range shooting. Reggie Miller was courtside when Curry broke Allen's record, a symbolic moment for the sharpshooting legend who once held the mark himself. But now, Miller believes someone else may eventually surpass Curry, and he isn't talking about an established star. He's talking about Con Newpol. During an appearance on the Dan Patrick Show, Miller spoke at length about Newpol's breakout season with the Charlotte Hornets, a campaign that has quickly made him the frontrunner for Rookie of the Year. Beyond the awards buzz, Miller sees something more, a player whose early numbers resemble, and in some ways surpass, the pace Curry set at the beginning of his career. He's going to win Rookie of the Year, Miller said. And dare I say this? In about 15 years. Stephen Curry might be a little nervous. Miller pointed to the comparison between Curry's first 3 seasons and the production Newpol is delivering right now. The gap may be smaller than many realize. Still, Miller stressed that talent alone isn't enough. The real test is longevity. That's the catch, he continued. He has to stay healthy. He has to last. Curry's been doing this for 17, 18 seasons. Can Con Newpol sustain this level for that long? That's the real question. But what he's doing in Charlotte is special. Of course, Newpol still has an enormous climb ahead. Curry's three-point record isn't just impressive, it's historic. With 4,131 made threes and counting, Curry is the only player in NBA history to eclipse the 4,000 mark. The closest active player is James Harden with 3,237, a distant second that highlights the scale of Curry's dominance. For Newpol to truly challenge Curry's record one day, he would need to maintain his current pace for more than a decade, dramatically increase his shot volume, and remain one of the league's most efficient shooters year after year. It's a daunting task, but if Reggie Miller is willing to point to a rookie as Curry's potential successor, the NBA world is paying attention. Miller's comments quickly sparked discussion around the league. Analysts, former players, and fans began dissecting Newpol's early numbers, comparing his shooting volume, efficiency, and shot creation to the standards Curry set across his career. While no one is ready to label him the next Steph, many agree that Newpol represents a new wave of players shaped directly by Curry's influence, players who grew up studying his mechanics, his footwork, and his off-ball movement as blueprint material rather than anomalies. League insiders also acknowledged that the environment in Charlotte has played a meaningful role in Newpol's early success. The Hornets have given him offensive freedom, designed sets to maximize his shooting comfort, and allowed him to take on responsibility uncommon for rookies. Coaches around the NBA have taken notice, with some privately noting that Newpol's development could force teams to rethink how they scout modern shooters. Instead of looking for pure spot-up specialists, organizations are now searching for players who can shoot on the move, relocate instinctively, and operate within the pace and space systems that Curry helped popularize. Still, even with all the excitement surrounding Newpol's potential, there remains a sense of caution. Many around the league have pointed out that sustaining elite three-point production over an entire career requires more than skill. It demands consistency, adjustment, durability, and the ability to evolve as defenses adapt. Curry, over the years, reinvented his game multiple times to stay ahead of opponents. Scouts and executives wonder whether Newpol, or anyone else, will be able to mirror that kind of long-term adaptability. Curry himself has not publicly commented on Miller's remarks, but those close to him say he remains unfazed. He has always acknowledged that records are meant to be broken, even if he has no plans of slowing down. In fact, Insiders report that Curry is more focused on expanding his lead than protecting it. With his record already beyond the reach of most active players, each season adds hundreds more threes to his ever-growing total, creating a gap that could take decades for anyone to close, if it can be closed at all. Meanwhile, conversations within NBA front offices have quietly expanded. Some executives believe that the rise of players like Newpol is a direct result of the league's shifting developmental priorities. Youth coaches now emphasize range, spacing, and off-ball movement far more than in past decades. If Curry's record is ever broken, they argue, it will be by a player raised in this new ecosystem. Others, however, argue that Curry's combination of accuracy, volume, creativity, and durability is so rare that his record may stand longer than many expect. They cite examples of high-volume shooters whose careers were shortened by injuries, declines in efficiency, or changes in role once they entered their 30s. As for Newpol, he has remained grounded throughout the discussion. When asked about Miller's comments, he downplayed the idea of chasing records. His focus, he said, is on helping Charlotte win and learning how to contribute consistently on both ends of the floor. Privately, team sources say he appreciates the praise, but also understands the weight of expectations when legends begin mentioning your name alongside Stephen Curry. The debate will continue as the season progresses, especially if Newpol maintains his current pace. If he keeps trending upward, the comparisons will only grow louder. And while Curry's place atop the record books remains secure for now, Miller's remarks have introduced a new question into the NBA conversation. Not just whether someone can challenge Curry one day, but whether the league is finally producing players built to chase the kind of numbers once considered unreachable. Former NBA star suggests a Klay Thompson return to the Warriors as Jonathan Kuminga is certain to be traded. Jonathan Kuminga's situation with the Golden State Warriors has become one of the most talked about storylines in the league. Kuminga opened the season on a high note, earning a spot in the starting lineup and delivering strong two-way performances that hinted at a breakout year. But as the season progressed, his shooting efficiency dipped and his consistency wavered, prompting Steve Kerr to move him back to the bench. He's currently averaging 13.8 points per game, yet a lingering knee issue has sidelined him for multiple contests and only fueled speculation that the Warriors may be preparing to move on from him. Chandler Parsons points to Kuminga's silence as a major sign of an impending breakup. Former NBA forward and current analyst Chandler Parsons believes Kuminga is headed for a trade, and soon. His reasoning centers on Kuminga's silence regarding his long-term future with Golden State, especially in the post-Stephen Curry era. "I just think Kuminga is destined to be traded," Parsons said. "Personality-wise, fit-wise, relationship-wise, he's going to end up being the scapegoat. He's not someone who looks fully comfortable. He's not someone who talks about being here long-term. We've already heard pods say he wants the torch passed to him." Parsons contrasted Kuminga's quiet approach with Brandon Podziemski's vocal commitment to becoming a foundational piece for the franchise moving forward. Kuminga has far more upside and has had a more productive start to his career, yet you've never heard him say anything about wanting Golden State to be his team, or about taking the franchise forward after Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler. That's why, to me, he's the obvious trade candidate. Parsons floats a reunion with Klay Thompson, but the numbers don't quite fit. With Kuminga's future unclear, Parsons went a step further and proposed something that would have sounded unthinkable a year ago, bringing Klay Thompson back to the Warriors. "I'd love to see Klay Thompson come back somehow," Parsons said. "He doesn't seem to have a real role right now, and I don't know if it changes much for Golden State, but having him back would be great." But even Parsons acknowledged the challenges. Thompson is past his prime and currently averaging just 10.3 points per game. Meanwhile, the Warriors are seeking either younger players or more productive contributors in any deal involving Kuminga, a player who still carries significant upside. If Golden State were to seriously consider a reunion, they would likely need to structure a multiplayer deal, possibly using Buddy Hield's contract as salary ballast alongside additional rotational pieces to make the numbers work. For now, Kuminga's uncertain future continues to hover over the franchise, and the idea of Klay Thompson's return, while nostalgic, remains complicated. But as the Warriors struggle to define their next era, no scenario feels completely off the table. As trade rumors intensify, the conversation around Golden State's future has grown louder, especially among former players and league insiders. Many believe the franchise is approaching a crossroads, continue holding onto young talent in hopes of developing a new core, or reshape the roster around the final years of Stephen Curry's career. Warriors insiders grow divided on Kuminga's role. According to several team observers, Kuminga's uncertain trajectory has caused internal disagreement within the organization. Some members of the front office reportedly view him as a long-term investment, an athletic, improving two-way wing who could still make a leap once given more structure and responsibility. Others, however, worry that his development curve does not align with the urgency of maximizing Curry's remaining championship window. This divide has only intensified as the team continues to hover around mediocrity, suffering from inconsistent defense, stagnant offense, and a lack of reliable secondary scoring. Kuminga's frustration has not gone unnoticed. While Kuminga has remained publicly silent, several sources close to the team suggest that his frustration with both his role and the organization has grown over the past 2 seasons. His demotion to the bench, combined with reduced touches and prolonged stretches without involvement, has reportedly added to the tension. Coaches have emphasized that Kuminga's growth requires patience, discipline, and better decision-making in fast-paced situations. But with the Warriors struggling, patience has become harder to maintain. Curry's influence looms over every decision. At the center of the discussion remains Stephen Curry. The franchise knows it cannot waste another year of his prime, especially with questions growing about whether the current roster can realistically contend in the Western Conference. Some analysts argue that trading Kuminga for more seasoned, playoff-ready pieces could be the only viable path to keep the championship window alive. Others warn that moving on from a 22-year-old with elite upside could become a franchise-defining mistake. The idea of a Klay Thompson reunion sparks mixed reactions. The suggestion of bringing Klay Thompson back has drawn emotional split reactions from Warriors fans and analysts alike. For some, Thompson's return symbolizes loyalty, familiarity, and a return to the identity that shaped a dynasty. For others, it represents a step backward, one that does little to address the team's most pressing needs. While Chandler Parsons' idea gained traction online, most league executives agree that a Thompson for Kuminga deal, even with salary balancing, would be unlikely. Thompson's recent decline in mobility and shooting consistency makes him a sentimental, rather than strategic, acquisition. Growing pressure as the trade deadline approaches. With the trade deadline approaching, the Warriors are expected to explore multiple scenarios involving Kuminga. Rival teams have already expressed interest, particularly those in rebuilding phases who see Kuminga as a potential foundational piece. Golden State, meanwhile, must decide whether to prioritize the distant future or the immediate present. Whichever direction they choose, the decision is poised to reshape the franchise's identity, possibly ending the last remaining threads of the dynasty era. And with Kuminga's silence continuing to fuel speculation, the sense of inevitability surrounding his departure grows stronger each day.